So you wouldn't make the claim that the horizon is a physical obstruction. You'd say it's an apparent location.
Yeah, because if I move closer to the first one, then the horizon is behind the first one, but it can also be in front of the first one depending on where I'm at.
Can you see the post that Chemo posted? He's put the black swan there for you. Notice how it's the same exact image that I used, only I used the two observations overlaid. You see, the refraction in that photo is the same one that shows all the horizon behind the distance to horizon calculation up higher than the water. You see that? On the day that there's refraction. And on the day there isn't super refraction, there's nothing. Do you notice that?
Yeah, but if you notice the picture with the horizon behind it, that's the black swan.
Yeah, but look at the boom.
Shows all the others.
Look at the boom.
Because you can't have that picture, and then do you understand what you may not understand the argument.
No, I do understand the argument.
Yeah, we absolutely do understand.
But you've got to. If you had listen,
why am I looking at the boom?
If you had the black swan,
why would we be looking at the boom when we're looking at the horizon? Why are you referring to the boom?
Because the boom is higher up off the water, and look how badly refracted it is.
So what? We're not looking at the boom.
Higher refraction.
The boom is not into question.
Yes,
but
the refraction.
The horizon is in the question, and then one of you guys said that it's an apparent location when it's that's not part of your rhetoric. The rhetoric is that it's a physical obstruction.
Yeah,
like you have to make up your mind. You can't have both.
Okay.
Hold on. The point of the boom. Let me clarify. The point of the boom is because the refraction level is lower than the boom. So if the boom is that messed up, don't you think what's beneath the boom is going to be even more refracted? And yes, it is. The horizon does indeed refract before the boom height. But the fact that the boom is refracted that badly, it means that whole area, the whole entire rig is being refracted. So you can't claim that that's a normal day, and then the shot lower than that is from the exact same location, from the same photographer, and you get the different result. No refracted horizon, no refracted oil rig, same distance. It's not a black swan.
But if that's what you're saying, you don't understand how your version of terrestrial refraction even works.
It's not true.
It is.
Refraction never.
For starters, what is terrestrial refraction? I mean,
refraction.
There are
different. Go ahead.
No, refraction is what?
Refraction is the curvature of light based on it moving between two different mediums of different densities. And when it's terrestrial, it means it's happening around the curve of the Earth, which happens
because it's the question of a curved Earth.
Well, that's what terrestrial refraction refers to, as opposed to celestial refraction, right?
Exactly. Which
So
when,
hold on.
And if you're using your curvature calculator, with the refraction formula, it has an R value that has to be proven first before it can be invoked in a formula.
Okay.
As proof for refraction on an image, where you have the horizon loomed up behind the structure. That would never happen. That's ridiculous.
It would happen. It could happen. Sure, it could.
No, it wouldn't.
Why not? Because all it requires for that to happen
is not how refraction works.
Just listen. All that requires for that to happen. Hold on. Let me just say. All that requires for that to happen is for the light rays that are bouncing off the water behind the actual horizon, the geometric horizon, let's call it. Those light rays just need to curve down. They just need to curve into your eyes, and when they do, it'll loom up that water, which will cause this apparent horizon shift.
But you need to imagine this curve for it to happen.
Well, sure, but it's not like it doesn't happen. It's not like it couldn't happen. Our version of refraction, this is consistent with it.
Just quickly, there's no versions of refraction. There's just refraction, and it's easily demonstrable in localized tests. And yes, the curve adds something. It adds the most important thing about refraction is the angle of incidence. And then secondary is the density, because the density difference or differential would dictate whether the light is bending towards or away from the normal. But the point is, around a planet, we would expect to see this. Therefore, it's not it's not out of the question. However, on a flat Earth, we wouldn't expect to see the other instances. You call this a black swan, the one image that seems to make the Earth flat and have a horizon behind. And yes, the horizon is behind, but that's an optical effect.
What do you define the horizon as?
The horizon is the point where the sky meets. We have division between land mass or sea and sky.
So is it a physical location or a apparent one? Have to pick one.
It's optical. So it's what we see, so it's what we see or record.
It's optical because if we didn't have eyes, we couldn't see it.
But the issue with this is that light bends, even with me looking over 100 meters, regardless of the shape of the Earth.
So if you guys saying that the horizon is in apparent position, then what the hell are you guys claiming when you show me pictures that have structures with obstruction at the bottom, like the bottoms are obstructed? What are you claiming?
Right. So we have to go through a few. Well, we have to go through a few we have to go through a few premises here. Premise number one is we know that light bends. Premise number two is the atmosphere has density, whereby the density is low down, and we have a density gradient going up. And premise number three is, well, actually, no, just on just those two premises. Now we can start to evaluate things. So it isn't a case of we're claiming anything. I can look at those two photos and say, well, in reality, if I've got a geometric box and I set it 10 kilometers away and I look at it in the distance and it's a geometric box there and I think, oh, yeah, that's cool. But then one day I come to it, 1 out of 9, I come to it and the box is raised up and it's all wavy. Well, I know that if I go and inspect that box, it's not turned to jelly. So therefore, light is causing a huge effect here. Now, if I wanted to, I could do statistical analysis on how much it distorts that geometry based on its apparent elevation above, its standard position, irrespective of what we call the horizon. And then I could start to see, well, the points where it's less distorted, it's low down and obscured. The points where it's not, where I can see it, it's incredibly distorted. Therefore, one matches more in terms of reality because of the geometry of the situation than the other. I don't need to infer anything with a calculator or the arc of the Earth or anything. I can just say a box is a box. If it's being distorted and there's no straight lines on it, I've got a problem.
Okay, fair enough. Because you premise this with, I'm not claiming anything, I'll give you a pass. But, for example, Sheeple, he was, that photo that he posted or whatever, he was claiming that there was an obstruction one of the days. What is he claiming that obstruction to be? It can't be apparent and physical at the same time.
Of course it can. Of course it can.
No, it can't. Are you serious right now?
No, I'm serious. I'll tell you why.
That's why I refuse to argue with you guys.
No, but this is a problem. This is you're right now. What you're doing is a problem. Because you're not listening.
You made a claim earlier.
You're lucky I'm high, because otherwise I'd be pissed off by this.
Because if you stop and hear what I have to say, you'd understand. And so what you do is you think you're so right, and you're so a priori confirmed by your bias that you refuse to even listen to something that contradicts what you expect. And then you think, therefore, you declare victory in doing that. But the truth is, what I'm telling you is correct. And you just need to listen to what it is, and you'll see. Either you'll go, oh, I didn't think that's what you meant, or you'll say, oh, that's not how I thought it worked. But either one, it'll probably be, it'll be clear. It's not like I'm going to tell you a lie here. So when you say apparent horizon, what you mean is the thing that we see is in a different location than it actually is apparently. We perceive it to be in a different spot than it really is, correct?
What?
When you say apparent horizon, what you're saying by the word apparent is you're saying the horizon appears to be in a different spot than it actually is.
When I say the horizon, I don't invoke any physical edge. It's an apparent location. It's a point where it's the vanishing point to your sight, basically.
Well, but when we're looking at say a picture like this, and we're talking about there's this apparent horizon that we're claiming is loomed up. We're saying that you're saying, well, is it a physical location or is it apparent? Well, the reason you're making the distinction is you're saying it appears to be in a different spot than it is physically, right?
It's the location where things get too small for your eyes to be able to resolve.
Well, not on a globe. That's clearly not true, right? Because on a globe that happens in 3 miles.
But yeah, so you're invoking a physical curve. You can't have physical and what I just said.
Yeah, but we're not.
It doesn't work.
I mean, the whole point of the horizon depends. The whole point of the horizon, though, depends on there being a curve. If there was no curve, right, this horizon would be at infinity. It'd be a vanishing point, way out in the infinite distance.
Well, you guys are claiming. One of you guys was saying that it was an apparent location. Now you're saying it's physical. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that your idea.
What you're implying.
No, I'm saying that your idea that somehow apparent horizon means that it can't obstruct is broken. I don't know why you think that. I'm trying to explain why it can.
Okay, well that's news to your buddies then.
I don't think it is. Is anyone
it's
here
news to Dean? It's news to Dean then.
Your argument by apparent, he's selecting the definition that means seemingly real or true, but not necessarily so.
But even something that's seemingly real or true, but not necessarily so, can obstruct because they're talking about optics, right? And something that is illusionary can be in front of something else, but if it's illusionary in there, it can obstruct. That's why rays do that.
Can I sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Who's the flat earther? The New Zealand.
Black Swans matter.
Oh, Black Swan. Just click. I'm sharing something for you at the moment. My screen. If you just click on me and view it, and let me know when you can see this lovely little. I mean, I'm going to use a curve. I'm really sorry, but it's a way.
Stingray, let me just finish one last thing, and then I'll stop. It was just I guess here's my fundamental point. You can disbelieve me if you want, and later or when Stingray's done or something, I can go into more detail. But here's my fundamental claim, and I doubt any. You'll find many people that disagree with this. Whether the horizon is being loomed or whether we're seeing a perfect geometric horizon, in either case, we claim that it can obstruct things that are beyond it.
So in the Black Swan picture, the physical horizon that you speak of is being loomed behind the platforms, behind them.
The horizon that we're looking at there, the line that we're calling the horizon, is water that was beyond the geometric horizon, let's call it, and is loomed up. Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Well, just look at this, Black Swan. Look at this. I'm going to show you how refraction works. So I've got a red object here. Let's call it an oil rig.
Sorry, you can stop it. You can stop there because I'm not going to listen to you. Sorry to be rude. I'm not going to listen to your monologue to go on forever again. And you teach me about refraction when you know when terrestrial refraction begs the question of an R value. So let's stop it there.
No,
I'm not going to go through this attempt at indoctrination.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I've been through these arguments a million times before.
I know Nathan Oakley told you that, but it just doesn't beg the question.
Oh, good one, Jim. Nice
it's true. It's true.
Well, all you're doing is parroting Oakley. So it is sad that you can't formulate.
I'm parroting science.
No, you're not. And I've noticed, and you may notice as well, how dependent your argument is on other people's argument.
No, it's not. Depending on citations, friend.
Several times. You're.
I like how you jump to conclusions without having any.
How do you know I've jumped to any conclusions? Because I haven't even.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now.
How? I've got halfway through a sentence and you've interrupted me and told me I'm jumping to.
Yeah, because you're jumping to conclusions about how I've come to my knowledge.
Well, let's let him get to the conclusion.
You don't know me.
Why are you saying the exact same words that Nathan Oakley said then?
The exact same words.
Yes. Hang on. Let me repeat that for you. Why are you saying the exact same words that Nathan Oakley says? Oh, it's you're presupposing an R value.
Yeah, that was word for word, man. That was pretty good.
Word for word, Nathan Oakley. So don't.
It's true, though.
Don't tell me
was the cutting off.
True.
And my point was.
Is it not true?
My point.
Is it not true?
No, it's not true. No, it's absolutely not true. The radius of the Earth is measurable. It's supported
by who?
By geodetic surveyors.
Good on you.
Well, there's plenty of. Well, okay. What's your refutation?
Plenty of what?
Hang on. What's your reputation of geodetic surveying? Apart from
I'm not refuting anything.
Apart from good on you. Right. So we can measure the curvature of the Earth. It's not presupposed. It's supported by a body of evidence. There's no presupposition involved at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
It's measured.
Yeah,
If you go and buy a pair of shoes, you don't presuppose your shoe size, do you? You measure your feet.
That's ridiculous.
Why? It's the same thing.
That
it's
is
measuring
ridiculous.
an object. It's measuring an object. What's ridiculous about that?
You're going to compare that with measuring as a presupposed R value.
You can't answer that question.
Again,
you said you have no problem with geodetic surveying. That's what geodetic surveying does. So you already said that you think that's...
How does geodetic surveying prove a curvature? Go.
I thought you said you have no refutation to it.
And how does it measure it?
It measures
How
There's a
does
lot
it
of different ways
measure it?
they do it. They do it in a lot of different ways.
Go. Well, go for it.
Well,
Give me
well,
one then, if there are lots of ways.
I don't know them all, but I can tell you at least some.
You don't know a single one.
I do know some.
I do.
Well, go for it then.
You're asking him a question. Let him answer. Jesus.
Yeah,
go ahead.
They
Yeah.
definitely do.
Go ahead, Pierre.
Go ahead.
Fuck.
So we're gonna go away from any kind of GPS. I'm gonna go with the old school way. So when they get to an island, we'll say any island out there, they go and find the difference between high tide and low tide. That's called mean sea level. All right. They get mean sea level, and then we can start getting our position above mean sea level with points with a theodolite and a measuring stick that'll give you quarter inch measuring increments all the way across this island. And the same method can be done with water to give us a small error margin of plus or minus about 1 inch. That's how they do it.
That didn't explain shit.
That makes exact sense.
That made no sense. That didn't explain anything.
Well,
You just said theodolite, they put here, they did that. And you didn't explain at all how that measures anything.
All right, I'll take a shot.
So measurements above sea level. Did you miss that part?
Yeah, nice try. Nice try. Sea level. Good one.
Well, that
Good
makes
one.
sense. You don't know what level it is, but
Sea flatness. Good one. Nice one.
Mean sea level. So
Hey, someone else try explaining.
either you're just being a clown and you have nothing to refute
All right.
the thing.
Good on you.
That I've worked with for 16 plus years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Oh, wow. I know.
Who was that? Brian or Cosmo or somebody?
yeah.
Yeah, I know more about surveying than, oh, wow. Good one. Sea level.
Yeah, surveyors measure for curvature. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll tell you how. So when they started,
Well, what do you?
And you have
Go ahead.
experience in
are you gonna
surveying.
listen, or no?
Yeah, let's
Just gonna talk
Cosmo. Let Cosmo speak. Go ahead, Cosmo.
Yeah, so when they started doing longer distance surveying, they survey in triangles, and so on longer distance surveying, they would measure the angle between these triangles. So long distances, right? They build these towers in America, or they did the Great Triangulation Survey of Great Britain, the Great Triangulation Survey of India, and what they would find is that they'd have to account for spherical excess in these triangles. That the triangle angles would equal to, or they'd add up to more than 180 degrees, which can only work on a sphere. So they take into account every single day that they do these triangle measurements, and they would find they would add up to over 180 degrees every time. That's one way.
If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. Good one, mate. Nice fallacy.
That's not appropriate at all. That doesn't make any sense.
It is appropriate. He said,
But
this
that's-
is what we expect on a sphere, therefore it's a sphere.
Okay, hold on. One thing I just want to say. What you just said is not appropriate. I'll tell you why. Because you would not get that measurement on a flat Earth. On a flat Earth, you would get a different measurement that would say it's flat. You would get 180 if you did that.
Yeah, the measurement would always go to 180
false. It doesn't apply.
surface. Yeah.
Therefore,
So,
Earth.
and it would go under 180 degrees
Come
if it was a
on, there's
concave
zero.
surface, let's just say.
You gotta step it up. Like you're literally wrong about that. Like it's okay to be wrong, but it's just not right about that. Like
This
if you have a measurement,
ridiculous.
if you have a measurement,
That's a perfect example of begging the question. Come on, man.
no, because if
No,
the
not at
measurement
all.
distinguishes between the two states, if
That's
the measurement
ridiculous.
distinguishes between the two states perfectly, if one measurement would say flat Earth and another measurement would say round Earth, then when you take the measurement, you're getting your answer. It's only what you said. You're only begging the question, or you're only affirming the consequent when you would get the same answer, and or where there's other explanations for the same answer. But when it divides the answer, when it literally distinguishes between the two, it's no longer affirming the consequent. It can't be affirming the consequent.
Stop with this fallacy stuff, honestly. Just
that was another Nathan.
Stop with the logic. Stop with the logical arguing. Sorry,
But it's
I'll be
illogical.
illogical.
I just thought we should point that out.
Arguments are just
I'll lower myself to your level and I'll become illogical. I'll make it more lowbrow.
Fallacies are just deflections. That's all they are. Stop with the fallacies. Come on.
No, they're not.
Hold on.
We've now made deflections.
If you're scared of fallacies, that's fine.
No, we've made a claim.
Argue logically. Fine, it won't get you anywhere.
No, we just did. You're still clinging to
I
it.
spent 20 years in politics, never once did we use fallacies.
Ooh.
The reason for that is these fallacies only apply to formal logic anyway. They don't apply to the real world. It's like
You're a
in the real
certified liar.
world,
Good on you.
No, it doesn't.
in the real world, nobody's claiming that you're actually getting proofs of these things, so the fallacies don't really apply.
Pure deflection.
I like all the appeal to authority fallacies I keep listening to. 20 years here, and I'd be 15 years here, and I'd be 16 years here.
That's not an appeal to authority.
There he goes again. Another
He is
fallacy.
the authority. Anyway, hold on. Let's hit the.
An appeal to authority can be valid. It doesn't have to be a fallacy.
Okay,
If the authority
Swan,
is,
you're really not doing well, buddy.
I know.
It's fine to mock things that are wrong, but when you mock things that are right, you just sound ridiculous.
just Google appeal to authority. It will say the same thing I'm saying. It can be completely valid. Of course, it's valid to use an appropriate authority on something if they're reputable and valid. Then, of course, that's appropriate.
Well,
That's
no,
not
but
a
hang on,
fallacy.
And that proves your point,
you're
right?
not
Does it?
using-
No, it doesn't.
but
I'm
here-
not claiming it.
Hold on.
proves
Hold on.
What your fallacy claims?
Hold on.
Point that proves
I'm
absolutely nothing.
I'm not claiming it proves a point. I'm just
Why is
claiming.
everyone so triggered?
There's too many people in the room. Too many people.
But-
Stack, hold on.
because
Let's get some order, Stack. Let's get some order. I'll remember the order. You're next after Jim.
Reddit trolling here, stirring everyone up.
All right. Well, let me try and move this on. Would you agree that if we are able to measure the Earth, and if we do have a body of evidence, a body of other evidence supporting its sphericity, then we aren't presupposing its shape. If it's supported by a body of evidence,
It's not evidence, though, is it?
why is it not
It is.
evidence?
And it's been to
Pure.
250 years old.
Why is it not
Hold on.
evidence?
Because it's not proof of anything.
Well, evidence and proof are not the same thing, are they?
Yes,
No,
they
that's
are.
right. They're not the same thing.
Are they?
No,
No,
they're not.
no.
Hold on,
Snap.
hold on.
Are you
So-
guys for real now?
Well, in a court of law, in a court of law, both sides will present evidence to support their case, right?
Are we talking about a court of law here? Or are we talking about the
Oh.
definition of evidence?
We're talking about
Oh,
we can
no.
talk about the definition of evidence. Like it
Which
doesn't.
is what I'm talking about.
Look
Look it up.
If I provide you with a body of evidence, and you
No, provide me with a definition of
can
what
I
I
finish
said.
the sentence? Is it absolutely necessary for you to cut me off after the first
Yeah,
half?
if you're not addressing what I said, it is necessary to cut you off.
No, it isn't actually. Just let him finish, and then you can point out he didn't address it afterwards. But let's let each other finish, otherwise it becomes chaos. So we have too many people, and it'll just make people start interrupting, and it's not worth it.
If I provide you with a body of evidence, you decide if that amounts to proof of something. Proof is subjective in that sense. There are mathematical proofs, I think, which are something different. But when we use proof in this sense, it's subjective. You decide if the evidence amounts to proof. And this is, in my example of a court of law, that's what happens. Both sides present evidence, and a jury decide whether that amounts to proof of something. Evidence and proof are not the same thing.
That's ridiculous. That's only what people that
How is that
don't know
ridiculous?
what.
Which part of
That's
it?
only what people.
Wow.
Because you don't know what the definition of evidence is clearly.
I just
by what you
posted
said.
it for you, Swan. I just posted it for you, Swan, from the OED.
Because if you're referring to something like along the lines of anecdotal evidence, that just means that it's not real evidence.
That's not what he's
real
referring to.
proof.
He's
I
referring to
didn't say that.
evidence.
Circumstantial evidence is
I
not
didn't say
real
that.
evidence.
I didn't
That's not
say
what
any
he
of
said.
those. I didn't say any of those. You've included.
Well, that's
those.
why you need to define your terms before you start speaking.
We are
We just posted them in the chat, Swan. We just posted them from the
We are
OED.
defining our terms.
Defining it. Defined it. You just defined it clearly.
We are defining our terms. We're defining the word evidence, and I'm defining it as well. Let's read this definition that Scott just posted, because The OED will do better than me. Information in the form of personal or documented testimony or the production of material objects tending or used to establish facts in a legal investigation. Also, to bear evidence, to give evidence. Yeah, that's it. So
you
that's
said
what
it
it means.
to establish facts.
Right, but it
And
doesn't
if you just
say...
do a simple definition of evidence Google search, you'll see that the first definition is the available body of facts, just like you said, or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid.
Right.
Yeah,
But it
that's
doesn't
right.
say...
Okay. Go
doesn't
by your
say-
definition then.
Hang
Okay,
on,
go by
hang
your definition.
hang
then.
on!
Let me-
No!
Okay,
Stop!
Okay.
One at a time, guys.
Wow.
One at a time,
Well,
guys.
how many times do I have to say hang on?
Okay.
So I'm keeping track of who wants to talk. So as soon as this study gets done, we'll go snacks next.
Go ahead. Just
And
go
no-
ahead.
Nice impression of Nathan Oakley, by the way, Jem.
Well, this is different because he didn't actually insult anyone or call them retards. He just got
But
it.
he does the exact same
Yeah, but
thing.
wasn't it? I'm sorry
He
for
screams
talking
in the
over-
exact same
deliberately.
way.
Well, they're from the same part of town, so they have the same accent. Snack, did you want to say
They're
something?
just,
Okay.
just trying to copy each other.
I
Plagiarism.
wanted to talk.
I said the words hang on. Sorry, Snap. I said the words hang on. I'm not repeating his sentences word for word like you are.
In exactly
I
the
can,
same tone.
I can formulate
that
my
he says
own
it in.
sentences. I don't have to get them from Nathan Oakley. Go ahead, Snap.
I wanted to reach back. What I had to say was about the appeal to authority. So what they were doing was not an appeal to authority. So I do believe avoiding logical fallacies is important to constructing coherent arguments. But what he was doing when he said, I have this experience, was not an appeal to authority. If he said, I have this appearance, this experience, therefore what I say is true, that's an appeal to authority. What he did was, I have this experience, and then use that to justify the evidence that he is presenting, to demonstrate that he has the expertise to present this evidence. The evidence was not him saying, I do geodetic surveying, therefore you should believe when I say that the Earth is round. That's an appeal to authority. But what he actually did was give you evidence, so that's not appeal to authority. So you were incorrect.
All right. Nice selective hearing, buddy.
What I said was that I work in an industry, well, in that industry that uses surveying and surveyors for over 16 years. I'm not giving you an appeal to authority. I'm telling you that it's a body of evidence that is indicative of one position above any other. The whole field is over 250 years old.
All I wanted to say was, all I wanted to say was that if you go by that reasoning, that evidence is proof, is that I can turn around and say to you the fact that I can't see the Southern Cross star from where I am in the UK with a telescope proves the Earth is a globe. No, I'm not going to claim that. Of course, I'm bloody not. It's having a sufficient evidence to prove something. But exactly as Jem said, proof then in that subject is objective. You know, I'm not going to claim
the part where I said that evidence is the available body of facts. Did you miss that part? Or do you not understand English?
No, I didn't miss it. But that, again, that is
Look, man, English is my first language, and I understand what that means.
Wow. Why are you getting all personal, dude? Why are you getting all personal for, dude?
Because you don't understand what you're talking about. It's clear.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. So I've just proved the Earth is a globe. I can't see the Southern Cross with a telescope. Therefore, there you go. Proved. There you go. It's a globe.
Well, let's talk about this, guys. Let's talk about this.
Swan, proved.
Can you have a single piece of evidence? Can you have one piece of evidence in favor of something?
Yes.
What?
I'm asking you, Swan.
Evidence is proof, man. Just define your
question.
term.
Can you have a single piece of evidence for something?
Yeah.
Okay, so that first piece of evidence you get for something, right? Let's say you're exploring something.
If it's real evidence, if it's evidence, it's proof. If it's something along the lines, like I said.
Okay, well, let's consider that. Let's consider
along the lines.
Hold on, guys.
Can I finish?
Let's consider that.
If it's something along the lines of anecdotal evidence, it's a kind of fake evidence. So you're using the word evidence, where you have to define that term.
Guys, Pierre, hold on for a second. Just let me finish this thread. It will take me not more than 2 minutes to swear.
That's the adjective. It's describing.
I was talking to myself, not him.
So
you guys understand what I'm saying here?
Are you done, or can I respond yet?
I'm done. Respond.
Okay, so I get you. I get what you're saying. Yes, anecdotal doesn't count. Circumstantial is different. But what I'm saying is, when you're building this body of evidence, you start with a single piece. And this, I mean, I'm talking real here, right? Like, this is true, right? You get your first piece of evidence in favor of something. Now, that doesn't guarantee it's going to be true, but we still call that a piece of evidence, right?
It's a kind of proof, but it's not a proof. It's not a real
that's
proof.
Right. That's right. That's what I'm getting at.
Not a proof.
That's what I'm getting at.
It points to something, but it doesn't prove anything.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get to. Is that there's a bit of a stretch of the word there when we say it's a body of evidence that leads to the truth or whatever. That's true in the big. You're done with the argument. You have all your evidence. You lay it out. You can say the body of evidence that is telling us that X, Y, Z is true. You can say it that way. But we also use the word to mean, when you're beginning your investigation and you're gathering evidence, you get some evidence that goes one way, some evidence goes the other way. And at the end of the day, you're going to get it all, lay it out, and say, which is the preponderance, which has the best, most compelling argument. And that's where you end up making your decision. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a piece of evidence along the way that went the wrong way. And that's what we're saying. So to us, evidence, the word evidence is disingenuous to say it's proof, because when we have contradicting evidence, I mean, it would imply, if that was the case, it would imply there's no such thing as contradicting evidence. And we know there is. We're constantly looking at evidence that suggests opposite ways.
I think this is just being a little weaselly, guys. We all know that evidence and proof are synonymous. Like,
I've never known that. I really haven't.
They're absolutely not. I've never understood it that way. And
oh my God! Do you have a thesaurus then?
You're the first person I've met that understands it that way.
I thought you agreed with it.
Well, how do we have, as Scott has just said, why is there a phrase, contradictory evidence? Why does that phrase exist?
Because it's proof. It's your version of your proof. If you have actual proof, when someone says they have proof, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It's you to determine whether it's true or not. And how do we do that?
If it's contradictory, hang on.
Welcome to the scientific method.
Hang on. If it's contradictory, how can that be the case? If it's contradictory, how can both pieces of evidence be proof?
Well, one's not proof, is it?
That's right.
Exactly, but it's still evidence.
Because if somebody says it's proof, doesn't mean it is. It's up to you to verify that or not.
Is it still evidence?
Evidence is proof. Gee, are you getting it?
Are you getting it? Look, let me try again.
We read our definitions. We've been through it already.
If it's contradictory evidence, is it contradictory proof?
What?
If it is contradictory evidence, and evidence and proof are synonymous, is it contradictory proof?
Good question.
What are you on about? You're not
okay, well, Swan, it's clear you don't understand. It's clear you don't understand.
No, he's not making any sense.
He's not getting it.
How is that? What part of that doesn't make sense? You're saying that evidence and proof mean exactly the same thing. I'm saying we have the only one saying it. You are. I'm saying that we have a phrase in English which is contradictory, and that stop it. That phrase in English is contradictory evidence. You say evidence and proof are the same thing. So that phrase must also mean contradictory proof. And that's logically impossible.
Good point, Jem. Actually, that's a really good point.
He gets it. He's stuck.
He is. He gets it. And he's pretending he doesn't. He knows he's wrong and he can't admit it.
You guys refuse to understand
all right. You find a definition.
Then answer the question.
You find a definition which describes evidence as proof. You find that definition. No, you haven't. You found definitions that say facts. You haven't found any definition that mentions the word proof. So go ahead and find it.
If you get it, answer the question. He won't. He doesn't. He's not. He's either not getting it. He's just being dishonest because he can't because he knows he's being.
This is where parroting Nathan Oakley gets.
It's a malformed question.
How is it malformed?
Look, it's just ridiculous.
Answer the question, dude. Tag me in.
Let's just move on, guys. If he's not gonna understand this,
fundamental meaning of the word evidence.
I got a question.
Oh no, he understands it, all right. He understands it. Right.
Again, Black Swan. If your definition is correct, produce a citation, produce a dictionary definition that agrees with you.
I already have.
No, you haven't. You've said one that says it doesn't mention the word proof. I want one that says evidence means proof, or something along those lines.
In a second.
But
he's gone.
It's in the same category as what's his name? Like when he agrees along the way with every point and then gets to the conclusion and then just denies the conclusion, we're no longer having engaged in any way. It's not like it just becomes noise.
Well,
it does.
If you have a look at the guys, can I just say this one thing? Have a look at the chat. Lael, I think you pronounce his name, has actually got a thesaurus version of evidence, and not does it appear proof doesn't appear at all. It's not one single. The proof is not there. It's not the same thing. And he's the one. And he's the one going on about getting a thesaurus.
I don't even believe in proof in that sense. It's only mathematical proof. There isn't.
Can I get in the queue to talk to him?
You're there. Do you want to say something now?
You could get a body of evidence that could prove a case, but contradictory evidence.
Sorry, go ahead.
Be like, contradictory evidence. Like he was saying, would be like your fingerprints at a crime scene. Yet we have an eyewitness that places you, 30 miles on the other side of town. That's why contradictory evidence actually exists, to exonerate someone from a crime that could have been committed, where you could be a suspect.
Look what epic thing he's done. Classic Anthony Riley, this one. In order to provide the evidence, the definition of evidence that includes the word proof, he's looked up the word proof and shown that it includes the word evidence.
It doesn't logically work.
No, it really doesn't. Because we're saying that proof is made from evidence. We are saying that.
Exactly.
He's a Reddit troll.
So you can have enough. You can have enough evidence to add all together to get the proof, but that doesn't mean that all evidence is proof. Go ahead, sorry.
I just have a real one-line question for Black Swan when he's able to, say that he can hear me. Okay, cool. Right. Here it is. Is it a fact that you cannot see Polaris from where you are? Any day, any year, any time.
That is a fact.
Right. So, what would we say about facts? Available body of facts, so this is one of the facts, information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. So therefore, the globe model states that you would never see Polaris because it's simply blocked by the Earth itself. So that's a fact. So now that indicates whether the globe proposition is true or valid. Do you agree?
No. That's ridiculous.
Why not?
That's because you're a Reddit troll.
On a flat Earth, you would be able to see it. On a flat Earth,
you would.
You would. It would at least be in the sky.
Regardless
Hold
of perspective,
on a flat Earth, it would be in the sky for you. But for you and me in the south, it's below the horizon. It never comes up. So therefore, the fact is you can't see it. The reason put forth, proposition to make this true, only works on a globe. So therefore, you've got 1 point against your flat Earth impossibility. Because the flat Earth has been modeled in any way, shape, or form and doesn't work. So what is your counter evidence or counterfact that the Polaris is possible on a flat Earth and not visible from where you are? What is it?
So you're saying that because we can't see it, it must be a globe. You've only got that one option, essentially.
Well,
That's
you only
your
have to go
proof that
6
it is.
degrees below the equator, and you can see it.
So you're saying, therefore, it must be a globe. Like that's
No.
your
What
only
I'm
explanation,
saying,
the only
what I'm
option.
saying
What's the other
is,
option then?
there's no other option unless you can provide one.
What about perspective?
No, because it's not in the sky. It's not disappearing from distance. It's not in the sky for you. Do you not get this? It's
something's
not in
not
the
far-
sky. It's not disappearing too
something's
far
too far
away.
away
It's
from you.
through
Yeah, something's
the
too far away
ground.
from you.
Oh, it's too far away from you. Okay. How about this then? What happens if I get one of the best commercial telescopes on the market? Am I going to be able to see the Northern Star from Australia?
I don't know. Do it.
No.
You don't know. You don't know.
You're going to see the fucking ground
you
and
don't-
I haven't done it.
Get the Hubble telescope. Give a fuck. You'll
The
never
telescopes
see.
don't make you see any further. They just
Australia.
increase your
Of course it
resolution.
does.
You know that,
Here's
right?
the problem. Here's the problem.
just
You're
said-
missing.
you
You know
said
they
it's too
increase your
far.
resolution, right?
No,
You know
it's
the basic
through
optics of the telescope, right?
It's through the ground of Australia. That's where you
Oh
have
my
to
God.
point your telescope.
Dude,
Do you not
you just
understand
said,
this?
dude, you just said because it was too far away. So are you saying
Exactly.
that the best commercially
that's
available
That's a
telescope? Hang on,
possible. I
I'm still
said that's
talking.
a possible
The best
reason.
I said the best commercially available telescope can't see it, even though you just with your naked eye it's too far away. Are you serious?
I didn't say that.
Really,
did I?
right now?
Didn't say
No,
that,
I
did I?
said it
I
though.
didn't say that,
But
did I?
you did say it was
Right,
too far away to see, though, didn't you?
Let's bring it back to a further
I said
nail
that's
in
a
the
possible
coffin.
reason, didn't I?
The idea. This
You can laugh all
is
you
how
want,
simple
doesn't
it
get you
is. This is how simple it is. You
Shows
could
that you're
travel. You could travel below the equator towards the equator, and at one point, all of a sudden, there will be your first sight of Polaris.
Therefore, it must be a globe, right?
Why can't you
That's
see
your
it before
only
then?
option.
Why can't you see it
deflecting.
before then? Answer the
I don't know,
question.
it's your claim. It's your claim.
Answer the question.
It's not a claim. It's
Your
an
claim.
observation, and it's
Answer
a
the question.
result
You're
of an
claiming that
observation.
the reason you
It's
don't
a
see it before them is
fact.
because it's a
It's not a
globe. That's
claim.
your
No,
claim.
It's
it's
a
a question.
fact.
It's a question. It's a question. We're asking you
It's
a
a fact. It's
question.
an established fact, is it?
No,
Did
it's
you-
an
right,
absolutely
did you-
established
Sheeple,
fact.
hold on.
But you
Sheba,
make up
hold
your
on.
mind.
Did you not just say that the reason why you can't see Polaris from Australia is because it was too far away? But therefore,
that's a possible reason.
if you're in the UK, you can see it. Therefore, it must be closer according to your logic. So therefore, if I have a powerful telescope, I should be able to see it. Correct? Right? But no, you need to explain that.
I said that's
Why
a
can't we see it
possible
with a telescope?
reason as to why I can't see it from Australia.
No,
So
it doesn't equate.
So you don't have an
All you
actual.
say is that you only have one option.
You don't.
No,
you
no,
don't
what-
have an actual.
That's it.
No,
We've only
what
got
other
that
options
one
are there?
No,
option.
what I'm
That's
saying is
question.
we're
We can't see
providing a
Polaris from
fact.
Australia, so it's a
Hold on.
globe.
Hold on, we're providing a
So
fact.
it's done.
Listen,
Science done.
listen. We're providing a fact.
Calm down a second, dude.
We're providing a fact, not a claim.
You're providing
claim
nothing
was-
but, you're providing nothing but a being the question fallacy.
The
That's all you're
claim from
providing.
Flat Earth. The claim
Oh,
from Flat
there
Earth
you go.
was we could see.
Textbook being the question
There we
fallacy.
go. Deflection,
You're nothing
deflection,
but-
deflection,
Not
deflection,
deflection.
deflection, deflection. You're always deflecting. You deflected
It's
the
argument analysis.
Not a
question.
very good one.
No.
That's what it is.
We
That's what
provided.
it is. Like
you
it or not.
provided the.
Like it or not.
Hold
Laugh
on,
as
hold
much
on.
as you like.
You pro-
Weasley laugh doesn't get you anywhere.
Look, he's
Hold
asked
on,
you
let
a
me
question,
think.
Black Swans. He's asked you a
Alright.
question, okay? How he posed it was that he offered you an explanation for this observed phenomena, and he's asked you for your explanation. You
I don't
provided one.
answer illogical
Hang on,
questions.
Hang on. You provided one,
not
and then
illogical.
kind of abandoned it because you don't want to
No.
assume any burden of. But
It's illogical.
he hasn't made a claim other than the globe is an
Yes, he
explanation.
has.
Hang on.
He
Other
said it's a
than
fact.
well, you agreed with that fact, didn't you? You
No, I
agreed
didn't.
with the fact that you agreed with the fact that it wasn't visible from Australia.
Yes, but I didn't
Right,
agree
right.
that. it's
So that
visible
isn't
to
in
globe.
dispute, is it?
It was a
Clearly
fact.
not.
Yeah, right.
Right. So
And
he
a
hasn't
fact
made a
has
claim.
Exactly.
He provided an explanation which is logical. It is a logical explanation, and he asked you if you had one, and you haven't. You should just say I haven't
did say
got
that
one.
one of the possible reasons would be perspective. I
Okay,
said
is that your explanation or not?
I said that's one of the possible reasons. I
Right.
don't
So,
know because
so
I
do
don't
you have
establish
an
facts like you guys.
explanation? So, do you have an explanation?
I don't live by unverifiable facts like you guys.
I've asked you to provide an explanation for this phenomena. And
This guy's a troll.
what you're doing is giving me one and then saying, "Oh no, that's not my explanation. No, that's just a possible reason."
Guys, this guy's a troll.
You haven't
I've been
admit
saying
it.
it
Admit
the whole
it.
time. He's
Look,
nothing but a
just
red
say
flag.
it. Look,
Yeah.
either say off the perspective as your explanation, or say no, I don't have an explanation. Just be honest.
He's a guy that watched a few videos on YouTube.
If you don't accept it, too
Yeah,
bad.
he's
I
a
do
clearly a troll.
accept
Trolling.
it. You don't accept it. You're saying it's not an explanation. It's just a possible reason. I've asked you for an explanation. Do you have one or not? No,
I said
you don't.
perspective could very well explain the reason
Okay,
why
is
you
that
can't
your
see it.
explanation?
Why do you
Troll.
want to stick to one?
Okay, hold on.
Troll.
Let's take it from there. Let's take it from there. Now, does perspective explain why it's under the horizon?
Does the reason why you can't see it from Australia explain that it's a globe?
Answer the question. Don't answer me a question. You see,
No,
we
I'm
started with
everyone's
your
questions.
no, we
This is
started
all
with your
massive
premise. We
interrogation.
started with your premise of having
No,
to use facts. So we started with a fact. I asked you for your answer. Now I've given you a counter question to say, does perspective make it come up above the horizon? Would any level of perspective, refraction, any atmospheric condition that we know of make that star come from underneath the ground and into the sky, regardless of whether you could see it or not? Yes or no?
Oh my god.
Answer the
I'm gonna dignify that with an answer. It's a ridiculous question.
Thanks for playing, man.
Reddit
Thanks for
troll.
playing.
Nothing but a Reddit
You
troll.
lose.
I've seen far better, man. Like, you're hopeless. Go back and learn some more.
Go
back and
troll
learn
somewhere
You
else. You're
guys,
clearly a
nice.
troll. Go.
Full of illogical arguments.
You should have
Illogical
known he was a
arguments.
troll when he
You
said
have no
that.
proof. All you
Troll,
do is
troll,
echo chamber of
troll,
getting the
troll.
question.
And all you
Yeah.
do is deflect,
Yeah,
deflect,
nice
deflect,
one.
deflect,
Yeah.
deflect,
Good
deflect.
ad
Troll.
homs.
Go troll somewhere
Typical.
else. Go
Typical.
troll.
I knew it was
Go
doing a
troll
result
somewhere
for this.
Casual
Troll.
Space Man, I
I
just saw
knew
you
it.
on
This is the usual.
Sideman Dan.
The usual
Yeah.
MO in this server. Resort to useless ad homs when you
Okay,
do
well,
these
take
arguments.
it back to
And all you
the
do, all you do is
Nobody's
beg the
lost an
question.
argument.
All you do
You
is
can't-
beg the
you-
question. That's all you guys have. It's
all you're
pathetic.
able to do is
Okay,
keep
Swan,
saying
you're
we.
super
It's
cool.
the hallmark of religious zealotry. You guys
Yeah,
are the
that's exactly
biggest
what it is.
bunch
Another
of
Nathan
religious
Everybody loves-
zealots out.
Get out,
You're
man.
begging the
That's
question.
what you guys
begging the
are. You
question.
Why
couldn't
don't
be
you? I
trolls.
tell you what. Why don't you give Nathan
You don't
Aker
even
a call?
You guys don't
Why
even
don't you give
understand
Nathan
basic
Aker a
logic.
call and get him to come and help you?
You don't understand
Yeah,
basic
let's
logic.
train you to be a better
Yeah.
troll.
And call me a troll.
That's the Black Swan. Black
All
Swan.
you guys do is weaselly
What's
laugh.
the question?
You
Black
guys, the
Swan.
arguments are stuck in 2015.
Okay,
You
Swan,
have nothing new to
Swan, we
bring
get
to
it,
the
we get it,
table.
we
Hold
get
on,
it,
hold
we
on,
get
hold
it.
on, hold on.
You're right about everything,
Black
we're wrong
Swan.
about everything. Hold on, guys.
Flat
Hold
Earthers
on.
reification fallacy.
Hold on, guys.
Alright.
Guys.
Yeah, yeah. Good one.
Guys,
You don't even understand what that is, mate.
guys. Swan is right. Swan is right. We are wrong. It doesn't. There's no use in arguing with him.
Clearly.
Really, this is silly. Like,
Clearly.
so he thinks
Shut
that
up,
we don't.
Scott. I don't even say those words.
Wait, can I ask one?
I'm serious.
Black Swan,
He could be recording you.
I'm serious. He's right and we're wrong. That's what he has to say.
Black Swan, why is it begging the question to ask you does
Jesus
perspective
Christ.
take into this account? Why is that?
Oh my God! Let's ask him one more question that he won't answer.
What?
That might work, Lael.
Yeah.
My point is
Really
that,
like that.
that yelling at him like this is just silly because clearly he is not making any sense.
Okay, he
Go
made
ahead,
a
Leo.
claim. He made a claim against me, Scott.
All
So
you
I just
guys
want to
do is,
clarify
we don't
that.
see this, therefore globe. This happens, therefore globe.
Reification fallacy means lack of concreteness, an idea that is not established by facts or information, repeatable, observable. So therefore, Your idea of a fantasy flat world
that
that
would be your
stationary
little model.
floating in your head
That would be your
is a
little model.
reification fallacy. We
Your
have
little model?
multiple observations that
Your little
destroy you.
space ball?
If flat Earth was
A little
real,
space
you
ball,
could.
that's a reification fallacy.
If flat Earth was real,
One
Black
day you
Swan,
may understand that.
you could model it.
Sing Pop Goes
Oh
the Model.
yeah, good on you
I'm
with
done.
the models.
I'm done.
Of course you're done. You've got nothing.
You got destroyed by one observation. I mean, why should we
Destroyed.
continue?
Good on you. Yeah.
Good for you.
In your
Good for
little
you,
mind, I
Swan.
got destroyed.
Guys,
Hey,
no
Swan,
matter what you
so
say,
I
he's
haven't
just going to
insulted you.
murmur underneath you and say this stuff. It's going to continue like this until you guys stop. You know what I mean?
I know that's what I'm trying to get him to stop. I'm trying to
You
get
guys are illogical. There's no getting through
How are
to
you
you
going to do that, Pure?
I'm done.
I'm
But I'm
trying
not
to
going to be
tell
told I
you-
don't know.
We heard sheeple thinking. We heard. Good.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be told,
Good.
Pure,
Good.
that I don't know what reification means. Okay.
Okay. So
You don't, because you use it day in, day out.
No, but you feel you have to question this guy. He's not going to answer your question. You're not going to tie him down.
I'm not
it's
answering any more
okay.
questions.
You
I
can't
didn't
tie
ask
me
any
down
more
with bullshit
questions.
arguments. Of course you can't.
I took
I
the
got
last
one.
claim about reification and I addressed that, and that's it. I didn't ask him any more questions, Pure, and I won't ask him any more questions.
Sheeple, your job's done here, bud. Your job's done.
Yeah.
All right, still
Signing out.
on. If you're in an aircraft at 35,000 feet, will the horizon poke your eyes out? Yes or no?
What the fuck kind of question is that?
If you're on a
I've
train traveling
Wales
from
argument.
Houston,
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. Another thing I'm not
Answer
going
the
to dignify with an
question.
answer. That's ridiculous.
what's a mole
You're
in
ridiculous.
chemistry?
Good point.
What's a mole in chemistry, Black Swan?
Like I said before, I refuse to answer questions from intellectual inquiries. Look it up yourself.
So I know what a mole is. It's not.
You
it's
don't
not
know
just
what it is.
mass. So for you guys who weren't paying attention to debate chat box, Black Swan said
I can
mass
play
doesn't
better,
exist.
Flat Earther.
Oh, Cavendish, here we go.
No, hang on.
You guys
can
couldn't
play
even
that.
make up your mind what the independent variable
Black
was.
Swan
You
said
guys-
that mass is just a concept, and it's not something that actually exists. Ignoring the fact that mass can be physically measured. You said that mole. I see. He asked, "What is mass?" I said, "Is amount of matter in an object." He said, "No, that's mole." Ignoring the fact that mole isn't used outside of chemistry, and mole is the mass of an object with respect to. Let me see if I can pull it up again because I'm not a chemist.
It's not mass; it's the number of atoms or molecules.
Well, it's a mole is
Related to mass, yeah.
Yeah, so it's measuring large quantities of very small entities. It's basically trying to determine how many atoms are in an object.
It's just a name for a number, like a dozen, only a lot bigger.
The number of atoms or particles. The mole is related to the mass of an element in the following way: 1 mole of carbon-12 atoms, blah blah blah, and a mass of 12 grams. It's some weird number. So that's, and then in comparison, 1 mole of oxygen consists by definition of the same number of atoms as carbon-12, but has a mass of 15.999 grams. So you guys should have realized that
the amount is a mole. The amount is a mole. And back to your Cavendish bullshit. Back to your Cavendish bullshit. You were essentially saying that if mass, then mass attracts mass. You don't know how to formulate a hypothesis. You fail at science.
Okay.
You, Scott, I don't even know what your answer was, but somebody else said time. You guys don't even know. You can't even make up your mind on what the independent variable is.
Don't be silly.
You do not understand an experiment. You do not understand science. You don't know what a hypothesis is.
Are you saying you're more intellectually? Are you saying you're more intellectually superior to? Are you saying you're more intellectually superior to Cavendish? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he is.
Clearly.
Is that exactly what you're saying? That yeah.
Clearly.
Wow.
Guys,
he didn't understand what his experiment is either. Clearly, neither do you. It's hilarious.
I fucking hate this guy.
But I mean, why? It's like there's just nothing to it. It's like air. It's like marshmallow. It's like, so what? He let him say it. It's like, it's just noise.
It's just a chuckle, really. It's a chuckle that just drives me up the wall, I think.
It is a little bit manufactured to be annoying. I agree with that.
and juvenile as well.
It's hilarious.
Juvenile.
You guys do not
I
understand.
know we don't know science. We're
experiment.
hilarious. We're your
Black
intellectual
Swan-
inferior.
Black Swan, what you understand is what Nathan Oakley has told you about
Nathan
science.
Oakley,
Well,
coming from the
hang
guy
on.
that bloody
Can I
absolutely
finish?
copies
Can I
you in
finish?
every single way,
Can I
down
finish?
to the tone of.
Okay, you're muted. So that's what you're doing. You've come at us again with Nathan Oakley's scientific method. When we hear you say that, we just think you're a joke. You're just another knobhead flat earther who believed what Nathan Oakley was telling them. That I don't even accept that absurd scientific method. It's not required for knowledge. And if you want to pretend it is, keep pretending. But you're just pretending because Nathan Oakley told you to pretend. You're unimpressive.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Well,
I can play a flat earther really well. Like I could do exactly what this guy does. Probably better than he can. What does that tell you?
Are you saying okay? If you refute the scientific method, are you saying that with regards to the Cavendish non-experiment, that
exactly,
independent variable that
shut
up,
experiment is not an experiment. You're exactly right.
Shut up.
I'm agreeing with you.
That the independent variable is not the presumed cause to your effect.
Exactly.
So if mass, then mass attracts mass.
That's exactly what the experiment
saying.
is. You're 100% right. I'm right with you, man. Isn't it ridiculous? Like, how are they going to sit there and say, like, mass is the reason mass attracts mass? It's not an experiment.
Well, there you go. Thanks to someone that makes a little sense in here.
Yeah. Except you're fucking
if you
wrong.
wanted to be pedantic about what an experiment is.
Oh, good one. Yeah, nice twist.
An experiment. It's a measurement.
Nice twist, double speaker.
Well, did you hear what I said? I said I could play flat earther better than most flat earthers. It's not hard to do what you guys do.
Oh, good on you. Wow, you're so good at your acting skills. Great. Nice job. In front of your
It's not acting. It's not because I'm acting. It's because I understand your guys' argument. You don't understand our argument. You can't
clearly
even
you
play
don't.
a Glover because you don't even know what our argument is. That's the problem.
Clearly you don't. You don't. I asked Jem a question there and he didn't reply because he doesn't understand what the hypothesis is either, or an independent variable. It's ridiculous. And then
I'll reply. I think
the mighty Jem doesn't accept it. I don't accept it as truth, as a method of finding the truth.
Can I respond?
I refute it.
Can I respond? Are you just going to keep grinding on there? I've made a couple of videos on this subject. This idea that there is a single scientific method which has to be adhered to establish any knowledge about reality is nonsense. It's bollocks that Quantum Eraser and Nathan Oakley have made up. That's not how we establish facts about reality. There are a whole host of ways that we do that. And then within science, there are a whole load of methods that people use to, again, establish facts about reality. Now, if you want to pretend it's all down to that method, you can go ahead. But I can produce you a dozen, maybe 20 citations from reputable people working in science, Nobel Prize winners, recognized people in the field of science that will tell you that this single scientific method idea is nonsense.
Fields of studies are not science, sorry. Science is very specific. Cause and effect, natural world. It's specific. That's why the scientific method is specific to...
No, it's not. That's just what Nathan Oakley told you.
No, you're talking about fields of study.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm
talking
talking about science as a whole. No, I'm not. I'm talking about...
Not.
Yes, I am. Okay, do you want me to get the citation for you? You go ahead, Danny. While you're doing that, I'll get him some citations. And you can disagree with that.
Do you want to give us an example of what? Water boiling. Yes, water boiling. If you refute that, then why am I going to bother giving you any other examples?
Is that the only experiment? Because every time I
ask another one,
it's because it's always that one, isn't it? Every time.
No.
Okay, so when did
you guys refute it?
Okay, so when did you?
Water. That's your only rebuttal for it.
Okay, so tell us when you conducted the experiment and what method you used to conduct it.
If you refute that,
I don't need to. You haven't established that you conducted this experiment.
No. Because you guys refute that.
Yes.
You already
if this is your experiment, tell us about it. Tell us about how you conducted it.